This evening on ENN Tonight, the race to the White House between Democratic candidate Kamala Harris and Republican candidate Donald Trump. 270 votes are needed to win.
We have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done with that. We're done.
But on Tuesday, you have to stand up and tell Harris that you've had enough. You can't take it anymore. You're the worst vice president in the history of our country.
ENN's Fiona McAllister has the presidential race updates for you tonight. Our Charlotte Fabi will update you on local elections from the Board of Education all the way to the Alamance County Board of Commissioners. And Abby Gravely will interview live guests and give social media recaps. With several reporters in the field, we will update you all night long. It all starts right now. Welcome back to ENN's Election Center, bringing you the latest on the 2024 election night. I'm Abigail Hines. Thank you for tuning in. This just in, Democrat Josh Stein is leading the race for North Carolina governor with 74.8% of the vote. However, votes are still being counted. Some major news outlets, such as Fox News, have declared Stein as the clear winner for the governor race. We are now sending it to Monica Jurevicius, who is at the Josh Stein watch party.
Hey guys, as you can see behind me, we've had a lot more people show up, and it was just announced that Josh Stein has won North Carolina as governor. We've had a lot of whooping, a lot of cheering, and everyone's just really excited to now hear this. You can see in the back that MSNBC is playing, and that's where we found out that this has happened. Now everyone is also having some refreshments, and we're just waiting to see what else will come of the night. There's a stage behind me with the North Carolina flag, where we assume Josh Stein will come up and any other Democratic candidates. There is a possibility that Governor Roy Cooper may show up. We are not sure yet, but we're looking around. Everyone is filming, everyone is hugging, everyone is decked out in USA gear, and there are still more people coming in, and we're excited to get more updates out throughout the night. Sending it back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Monica. We have a correction for the stats for the governor's race. We apologize for the graphic. However, Republican North Carolina governor candidate Mark Robinson is trailing at 37.73% of votes tallied. It's important to keep in mind that ballots are still being counted. Now sending it to Nia Bedard.
Thank you at the desk. I apologize for the technical difficulties. NBC News is now reporting that Josh Stein is the projected winner of the North Carolina governorship. The current watch party here in Raleigh is remaining optimistic, saying that the race is still too early to call of the votes, with only around 9 to 10% of the votes in North Carolina being counted, and we have no voting data yet from Alamance County. Again, watch party attendees are remaining optimistic about Robinson pulling ahead and securing the governorship, saying that not every vote has been counted yet, and they're waiting until the Board of Elections calls it themselves rather than any news outlet. Other than that, there are very few attendees here present inside the watch party. The rest are in the other room adjacent, and we have heard no appearance of Mark Robinson coming out. He has made, as of right now, he has made no appearance in regards to a speech about his secession from the governor race. We are still waiting for more word from Robinson and for more updates here, but as of now, nothing else here at the desk. I have nothing. But yes, the vibe is very quiet here. Very, very few people present.
Thank you for the update, Nia. And Charlotte has the current updates of state and local elections. Charlotte?
Yeah, thanks, Abby. So far, Democratic candidate Braxton Winston II is leading the race for Commissioner of Labor with 51.2% of votes, and Luke Farley has 47.49% of votes so far as well. The Commissioner of Labor oversees the North Carolina Department of Labor, which manages workplace safety, training, and regulatory policies. Braxton Winston A former Charlotte City Council member and Mayor Pro Tem advocates for higher wages, improved worker safety, and expanded access to health care, child care, and housing. Winston's platform also includes addressing food deserts, areas where it is difficult to buy affordable or good quality fresh food, and the digital divide to ensure that economic growth benefits all North Carolinians. Now for the race for North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture, Democrat Sarah Tabor is leading the race with 50.22% of votes counted so far. Incumbent Steve Troxler has 47.91% of votes. Agriculture remains a vital part of the North Carolina economy, and the commissioner's primary role is to maintain, protect, and enhance the state's ability to produce an adequate supply of food and fiber while overseeing regulatory programs like that ensure the safety and welfare of North Carolinians. And for the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Democrat Mo Green is leading with 56.32% of the votes, and Michelle Morrow has 43.68% of the votes counted so far. Green's platform focuses on improving public education by investing in resources for teachers, enhancing student support systems, and addressing the challenges facing North Carolina's rapidly growing and diverse school population. Now back to you at the desk.
Thanks for the update, Charlotte. ENN's Nolan Williams conducted a focus group where participants volunteered to share their opinions on this year's election season. The session gained insights into the perspectives and concerns of engaged voters.
I sat down with 3 students to talk about their top issues and policies they would like candidates to focus on. Now, let's take a look. One word, describe this election.
Chaotic.
Stressful.
Complicated.
You said chaotic, Gabby. Could you explain a little bit about that?
I just think it's a little chaotic. Well, because originally Joe Biden was the original candidate, and then he dropped out, and instead his vice president, Kamala, came into the picture. So it's been a little chaotic, especially about policies between both the Democratic and Republican side.
What would you say is the most important issue to you in this election?
I think there are a lot of important issues, but I think I would probably have to go for the abortion, policies for each candidate.
I was going to say abortion rights as well as a woman, but I guess to bring something else into it, I will say the border.
Definitely abortion, international policy, and racial and ethnic inequality.
Well, none of you said the economy, but most polls, when we're polling American voters as a whole, they usually say the economy is their top issue. Does the economy play a part in your voting decision this election?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And what way? What way are we looking at the economy?
Inflation, definitely.
Yeah.
I personally don't think I want to be paying a lot of money for a house when that time comes.
Yeah. I was going to say the future as well. When I'm ready to have a house and live on my own, I don't want to have that big, mortgage. I don't really know much about owning houses, but I don't want to go in debt I'd like to be able to live on my own eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say much, but yeah, no, I think it definitely plays a big part. Definitely in the future would play a major role.
Is there anything specific that you want to see from candidates or any policy decision in regards to international relations?
Just who's going to most help humanity. Not so much just war and just support that. Just bring peace and bring everybody to where they belong and home,
Yeah, same thing. Just whoever is most likely going to just get everybody who is, because I know there are captives right now and it's horrific, and those family members just want their family home.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me is family's a big part of my life, and I sympathize for those people because not having a family member, not knowing what's going on in their life is absolutely horrifying.
The North Carolina State Senate District 25 and the North Carolina House of Representatives District 63 and 64 have 2 candidates campaigning. The U.S. House of Representatives District 9 has 3 candidates. ENN's Fiona McAllister is back in the studio to talk about 2 of their campaigns.
Thanks, Abigail. With some votes counted, we're currently seeing the Attorney General ballots having some numbers come in. Let's take a look. Oops, sorry, 1 second. And right now we're seeing 2.22% of precincts reporting, with Jeff Jackson in the lead. Jeff Jackson is currently leading with 55.14%, and Dan Bishop right behind him with 44.86%. Jackson is leading with this ballots still being counted, and we're only seeing 2.2% of precincts reported. So that's just a reminder, ballots are still being counted. And now for just a little bit of a presidential update. So right now we're seeing Kentucky, West Virginia, Florida, and the swing state of Georgia leaning just a little bit red. Now these states only have a small percentage of ballots being counted, but Georgia has around 36 of votes counted and shows a lead for former President Donald Trump right now. Throwing over to North Carolina, only around 8% of ballots have rolled in, but it's a little blue as of right now, leaning more Democratic to Kamala Harris. Reminder, ballots are still being counted, and many things could change in the next few minutes. That's all I have for you right now. Back to you, Abigail. Thanks.
Let's check in with ENN's Evan Cooper, who's at Elon's campus watch party held in Global Commons. Evan, how many students have arrived so far?
Thanks, Abigail. I'm here in Global Commons for the election watch party. This event is being sponsored by the Kernodle Center, Elon Votes, Student Government Association, Council on Civic Engagement, Elon Political Engagement Work Group. Elon Votes has also held watch parties for the presidential debate and vice presidential debates. NBC News Now is currently the broadcast being played, and NBC News Now is hosted by Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie. About 55 students are here in Global Commons tonight, and currently the count is 35 to 95, with Trump in the lead. Key swing states like Georgia, Virginia, and North Carolina have closed their polls, but votes are still being counted, so it's too early to call anything. The current system calling those votes is the Associated Press, as its system is based on reported votes and not predictions or forecasts. Elon students are welcome to come to Global Commons to watch the results come in. Thanks, and back to you in the studio.
We'll check in with Evan later on in the night to hear from a student at the watch party. We are now checking in with ENN's Abby Gravely, who is interviewing Assistant Professor of Journalism Israel Balderas, who has been actively reporting in North Carolina for multiple news stations tonight.
Thanks, Abigail. Thank you so much for coming in, Professor Balderas.
Of course.
So you've been out in the field tonight reporting on the elections here in North Carolina.
Yes.
What all have you been seeing?
A couple of things. Number one, I'm very surprised at the voter turnout in blue counties, especially in western North Carolina. In western North Carolina, the numbers were very favorable for red counties. 58% of those in the voter turnout turned out in early voting. But tonight we're seeing high turnout in App State, which is Watauga County, Buncombe County, which is Asheville, two blue counties in North Carolina, high voter turnout. We're also seeing high voter turnout in Durham County, which is where Duke University. What that tells me is that the vote that I early on called the Taylor Swift vote, right? The college students that were going to be motivated, you know, from a youth perspective, those individuals are turning out today. And so therefore that turnout sort of bodes well for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, definitely. And then have you seen that or indications of that kind of turnout here at Elon with the college student vote?
Well, you know, earlier this morning I was reporting from the Kernodle Center, Senior Center in Burlington. What I saw was a lot of older folks mix, African American voters, white voters. So to me, I think in the morning time, I saw, say, Gen X and Boomers voting, whereas college students, you know, 18 to 25, probably voted in the afternoon and evening. When I start looking at the numbers, what I'm going to look at is which voters were, you know, highly motivated to vote based on what they were seeing in the news.
Yeah, and you said this youth vote bodes well for Kamala Harris, and we know that in 2020, Trump only won North Carolina by 1.3
That's right.
Points. Can you talk a little bit about how you think that young vote will affect North Carolina and the election as a whole?
Yeah, I think when you look at the data, right, that vote 18 to 25, about 60% were tilting towards Harris. If Harris is able to motivate that age group, 18 to 25, certainly those would be good numbers for her. Biden in 2020 didn't have a strong showing for the voters 18 to 25, as we're seeing now. So certainly that's going to tilt for Harris. However, what I would say is Trump did win North Carolina correctly in 2020 because we had the suburbs, right? And we had the rural areas. So what I'm going to be looking at is not only the western counties that were impacted by Hurricane Helene, but I'm looking at places like Alamance County. I'm looking at places like Catawba, right? These are not, they're close to the suburbs, but they're far enough to see, would those voters be motivated?
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to want to be looking at.
For sure.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me tonight, and good luck.
Thank you.
Vice presidential nominee and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has been making stops all around the country to campaign for Kamala Harris. Last week, I had the opportunity to follow alongside Walz during his stop in Greensboro, North Carolina. Since the beginning of election season, Vice presidential nominee Tim Walz has been asking America to do one thing: vote. Campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris, Walz has been all around the country, from Arizona to Pennsylvania. Over the past month, Walz has made multiple stops to the state of North Carolina, with his most recent in Greensboro and Asheville.
Millions of people around the world could not imagine gathering freely and deciding how you're going to vote. And in this election, I don't think you could find a bigger contrast. I don't think you could find a bigger contrast of a hopeful, visionary future for a new way forward and a better tomorrow versus a backward leap for one.
North Carolina is a top target for the Harris-Walz campaign. During both the 2016 and 2020 elections, former President Donald Trump won the state. And in 2020, the race was close, with Trump winning around 75,000 votes. As both campaigns look to win North Carolina's 16 electoral votes, Walz says he believes voters can turn North Carolina blue.
That's why the sense of urgency you have around issues and electing people to get things done, somebody like Kamala Harris understands that. She knows how to work together. She knows how to solve the issues. And that is in a direct contrast to what we're seeing from Donald Trump.
But they first need to get out and vote.
I fear that the cynicism that Donald Trump sows gets people thinking like, I'm just not going to vote, it doesn't matter. We can't solve all the problems today, so what difference does it make? And I hear this from people all the time, I'm just not into politics. My answer, I hope your answer to them, is too damn bad. Politics is into you.
Charlotte Fabi, ENN Tonight. After leaving Greensboro, Walz traveled to Asheville, where he commended the resilience of those local communities in the wake of Hurricane Helene and their plans for recovery. Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance has also visited North Carolina. However, Elon News Network was unable to attend those events.
With the Alamance County Republicans and Alamance County Democrats watch parties in full swing, our Kathan Gandhi and Mackenzie Cruz have the latest on what is happening. Kathan, how's the event going?
Yeah, thanks, Abigail. I'm still outside the Alamance County GOP election watch party right now. And let me tell you, since I last called, things have really, let's throw it to the turn it up a notch. At first, there were only 5 to 6 cars that were parked at the event, but I'll tell you in the last few minutes, at least 10 or so have piled in. There's a lot of excitement that feels like that it's generating around here, and it feels like most of that excitement is off the back of former President Donald J. Trump. There were multiple Trump signs pinned outside the building of the Alamance GOP headquarters, which we visited earlier. There's a bunch of signs around here, too, and there's even a sign back at that headquarters asking visitors to no longer request their own Trump signs because the headquarters had no more to give out. As just as much as there's been an emphasis placed on national races, there's definitely been a lot of focus on these local races as well, such as the County Commissioners Board. That may be candidates like Ed Priola, a first-timer, running focused on local business, financing law enforcement, and even revamping the Alamance-Burlington school system, or other candidates, too, like John Paisley Jr., who's also focused on increasing spending on the school system, sheriff's department, and emergency services as well, too. As the numbers for these races continue to trickle in, it's going to be very interesting to see how all these races play out. And I think it's safe to assume that the Alamance GOP party is keeping a close eye on all of these things as well. I'm Kathan Gandhi reporting from the outside of the Alamance County GOP Watch Party. Now, let's kick it over to Mackenzie Cruz.
I'm here live as you can see, everyone's pretty much older here. Polls close at 7:30 in North Carolina, so as you can see, there are more and more attendees showing up. The polls are almost full right now. So far, we've seen candidates show up here. such as Brian Norris for Alamance County District Court Seat 1, Seneca Rogers for Alamance County School Systems Board of Ed, and Tamika Harvey for the position. The host of this event, Alamance County Democratic Party, has had canvassing volunteers from all over the state, such as UNC Young Democrats, to people from Maryland and Colorado, and even international. They had 6 volunteers from the United Kingdom earlier this week. They even had people from the Harris Walls campaign help canvass, and some of them are here tonight. Volunteer Elizabeth Osborne said that the ACDP has sent out around 10,000 postcards to reach out to Alamance County. Osborne also said sign distribution has been a big effort. I'm here with Tamika Harvey, who is running for the Alamance Burlington School System Board of Education. Tamika, what does it mean for you to be at the Democratic Watch Party tonight here in Burlington?
It just means a lot. This is my first time ever being at a Democratic Watch Party. This is my first time ever. I'm so excited. I'm nervous, anxious, and the normal, I guess, if you were running for a school board.
Yes, of course. And what do you think are the main issues you'll tackle if you are elected?
So I just believe in advocating and making sure that we're advocating.
We apologize for cutting out early. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Early voting on Elon's campus had extreme wait times this year. ENN's Abby Gravely has more on why this may have happened.
I'm super excited to be voting in this election this year. I feel very strongly about the opportunity to vote for a woman, a Black woman.
Rhiannon Benesh was just one of over 4.2 million voters in North Carolina who cast their ballots early. And Patty Temples has served as a poll greeter for 5 election cycles and says she has never seen an early voting period like this one.
I've been involved since first with Hillary Clinton and then Obama twice, and even though it was really good during Obama's presidency, I've never seen a turnout so far like this one.
When early voting locations closed on November 2nd, about 57% of eligible voters in Alamance County had cast ballots, according to the North Carolina State Board of Elections. This high turnout has created multi-hour wait times, though Temple says she doesn't think voters were deterred.
Not this year. I really don't, because I think people understand the gravity of the situation and they're willing to do whatever part they can do to save our democracy.
For many individuals such as Benesh, voting early came from a desire to spare resources for those still undecided.
When you cast an early ballot, it gets ticked off the list, so your party will not waste their resources. The door knockers will not come to your house, so those resources can be directed to undecided voters and help pull in more people and encourage more people to come and vote.
Abby Gravely, ENN Tonight.
Fiona, have there been any updates on our presidential candidates?
Yeah, Abby, the race to the White House is still continuing. So right now we're seeing North Carolina with a little bit of blue. We're seeing that compared to last year, it was a little bit red. But even with the electoral votes up, Trump is currently leading with 101 and Harris right behind in 49. Right now, the number to watch is 270 with 538 electoral votes. And all count that right in half, 269. We're looking for that one more. All right, right now we're also seeing Georgia, another swing state, turning a little bit red. These are all just very light colors, even though it's looking a little dark on the screen. Mind you, all the votes are still coming in. We're seeing a lot more red continuing to kind of come across the East Coast right now. West Coast is still counting their ballots, but so are we. So we're going to keep watching out for that number. All right, throwing it back a little to the 2020 election, over across the board, there was a little bit more blue, especially right over here within our swing state of Pennsylvania. But right now in North Carolina, we're seeing a little bit of red, but in 2020, there was a little bit, right now in North Carolina, we're seeing a little bit of blue, but in 2020, we were seeing a little bit more red. Along with Georgia, we're also seeing more blue here, but right now we're seeing a little bit more red. So we're continuing to count the ballots, and the presidential election is still going on, and the race to the White House is still continuing. So watch out for those numbers. That's all I have for you. Thanks. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Fiona. ENN's Election Center has many moving parts on election night. Our team of over 30 students are working to give you the updates you need. Abby Gravely is going to give us a tour of the newsroom during this time. Abby, what's going on in there?
Thanks, Abigail. Welcome to the Elon News Network newsroom, where we have reporters currently hard at work getting this election show up and running. We also have our live blog that's been going on all day at elonnewsnetwork.com, as well as a new issue of The Pendulum, which is coming out tomorrow. I am here with Ryan Kupperman, managing editor of the website. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. How has tonight been going at the ENN Election Center?
Well, a little crazy, Abby. We've been in here since 7:30 in the morning, getting reporters out to polling locations, getting reporters on the phone with local candidates. We're obviously trying to target our local county of Alamance because a lot of those local races, we're the only ones covering them. But we've also been able to get in touch with quite a few candidates, including Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson and candidate for Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mo Green.
Awesome. And what all did ENN do to prepare for tonight?
What didn't we do? We have been creating data visualizations, having those ready to go for when races are called, putting those up on the website. We've been contacting candidates ahead of time to ensure that we could get a hold of them today, because today is a very busy day for all of us. And all in all, just doing a lot of research and seeing what other both collegiate and professional news media have been doing, so we can both push the bounds and stay afloat with the other coverage that's happening tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And then why do you think it's important for student journalists to be covering elections like this?
Because history is being made, right? We get to be on the forefront and the cusp of a very important time in our nation, in our state, in our county, and our town, right? So anytime we can be involved with that and help educate our fellow students, our fellow community members, I think that's the most important thing that we can do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me, Ryan, and thank you for visiting the newsroom. Back to you at the studio.
Thanks for the tour, Abby. Charlotte, have we seen any results in local elections yet?
Thanks, Abigail. Another important election for Alamance County is the Alamance County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. The main duties of this position are to provide direction on the best ways to protect and improve natural resources. The Board of Supervisors meets to establish local soil and water conservation priorities based on the needs of the county. Currently, there is one open seat for the Board of Supervisors. The board consists of 3 elected members and 2 appointed members total. And with this upcoming election offering voters a chance to weigh in on the future of the county's environmental management. The 2 candidates running for the district for district supervisor are David Michael Spurl and Andrew Carroll. Carroll is an earth and environmental science teacher at Southern Alamance High School. His campaign focuses on community and education and preserving the county's natural resources. For future generations, Carroll's platform also centers on the importance of clean water access, something he says is vital for both recreation and local ecology. He aims to support both farmers and local residents by promoting conservation practices that benefit the community as a whole. Running for re-election, David Michael Spurl previously served as a soil and water supervisor for 8 years. Spurl is a strong advocate for agriculture and environmental conservation. His platform also stresses the importance of educating young people about the role of agriculture plays in the county's economy and environment. He says he's committed to visiting local farms to provide educational outreach on topics such as soil health, farming practices, and sustainable farming techniques, including the role of bees and chickens and ecological balance. That's all I have for you. Now back to you at the desk.
As the night is getting later and later, let's throw it back a little to see how students are feeling about this election. Happy Election Day, everybody. It's me, Fiona McAllister, and right now I'll be taking a walk around Elon to see what students are feeling about the election and what they're looking forward to most. Now, let's go take a look. So how are you feeling about the election?
I'm not even gonna lie, I'm pretty nervous. Feeling a little nervous. I'm honestly a little nervous.
Do you know who you're voting for?
I do indeed know who I'm voting for.
Are you comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I voted for Kamala.
I think that my views better align with her, and
I feel like her values most align with mine.
I'm a Republican. I'm voting for Trump.
Obviously, I do know who I voted for, but I'm going to keep it to myself.
I didn't vote independent, but I did vote for somebody.
What is most important to you?
Yeah, so I'm 50% Hispanic, and so immigration is super important to me.
I'm an elementary ed major, so when I was looking at who to vote for, I looked a lot at their education policy.
To be honest, I haven't done that much of a deep dive into it.
I don't know necessarily. It's a very subjective question you've asked me.
Policies that align with protecting women's rights.
Definitely the tax credit. I know that in our economy is not doing too hot right now.
As you can see, that's a lot to look forward to and a lot to think about. I'm Fiona McAllister, and you're watching ENN Tonight.
And an interview with a student that thinks Elon's campus should be more politically active. We'll be right back.
And I'll have a live update on what's happening on social media since the polls closed.
With 17.83% of precincts reported, Democrat Josh Stein continues to be in the lead with 53.18%, while Republican Robinson trails at 42.18%. Democrat Rachel Hunt is now trailing behind Republican Hal Weatherman at 47.86%, while Weatherman is leading with 49.59%. Republican Jefferson Griffin, who is now leading at 51.77% for the NC Supreme Court Associate Justice seat 6, while Democrat Allison Riggs is behind by 48.23% against him. As of right now, Elaine Marshall is trailing the race for North Carolina Secretary of State at 49.08%, while Chad Brown is leading by 50.92%. Fiona, who's running for North Carolina Attorney General in North Carolina State Senate District 25, and how'd they campaign?
Right, well, there's not many updates for you right now on those, but Attorney General is in the lead with, it was Jeff Jackson previously who's in the lead, who's running for the Democratic spot. But right now we have a little bit more updates on the presidential election. So right over here, we're seeing this state turn a little bit blue, a little bit red. It's kind of going back and forth, but now North Carolina is leaning a little bit more red. You'll see that. Harris is currently up with 71 electoral votes. Trump's still at 101. So we'll be seeing those votes count a little bit more in. We're seeing Maine over here turn just a little bit red as their percents are slowly trickling in with their votes. Right up here, it's a little bit red. North Carolina, obviously, there too. Georgia, most of the swing states are kind of going both ways. It depends on where their votes are kind of coming in. Every minute, every second, every vote is being counted, and we'll have more updates for you right after this.
Thanks, Fiona. This year, Elon Votes and the Coronado Center for Civic Life have tried to engage students in political events to increase the percentage of student voters. ENN's Angelina Fantaroni has more on if these events have made an impact.
Being a nonpartisan organization, Elon Votes held 20 election-related events this fall.
Walking into the presidential debate downstairs in Mosley, I've never seen that space so packed. It was in part horrifying because we needed to go get more pizza, but also really exciting that this many students were interested and engaged.
The organization had close to 35 civic engagement ambassadors, working the events and even helping students register to vote.
And so those students have been really busy staffing the Elon Votes office downstairs here in the Mosley Center, as well as a variety of weekly voter registration and absentee ballot events we've had around campus.
According to data from the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement, Elon's voter rate was 25% for the 2018 midterms, when the average voter rate for all institutions was 30.6%.
We took a look at our student voting data from 4 years ago. We took a look at the fact that sometimes students in the business school, sometimes students in the sciences and the communications school are underrepresented in terms of voters.
Members of Elon's Democracy Dialogue Collaborative, a group focused on civic engagement, think students may not vote because they haven't been involved in politics before.
If you live in a society, then you are well equipped to engage in politics. So I think that's one barrier to overcome, is the assumption that you have to be an expert to be able to be involved in politics.
Angelina Fantaroni, ENN Tonight.
Civic engagement events won't stop after the election. The first post-election event will be held tomorrow and is a post-election processing space. Next week, on Tuesday, there will be a panel discussing the results at 4:30 p.m. in East Commons. ENN's Evan Cooper is still live at the on-campus watch party held in Global Commons. Evan, who do you have with you?
Thanks, Abigail. I'm here with Lindsay and Allison, co-coordinator and director of outreach for Elon Votes, respectively. So tell me, what sort of preparation went into this event for College Voter tonight?
Yeah, so we've been planning this event basically all semester to make sure we had all the aspects in place, good food, good company, good activities, made sure it was a really welcoming space for everyone on campus.
We like the welcoming part, we really made sure to make a community agreement. So you'll notice around the building we have a set of ground rules, so make sure people are being respectful of everybody, listen to other opinions, all of those things that make these kinds of spaces work.
Right. How have you been feeling throughout this election season?
It's really exciting to see the turnout and excitement here at Elon University. The amount of people we've talked to who are really excited to vote and be first-time voters is really, really inspiring.
I think we're also really hopeful about our voting site too, so we hope having people show up to that, so that was really inspiring for us and really validated a lot of the work that we've been doing.
All right. Is the atmosphere here what you were expecting for tonight?
Yes, I think it's great. We love the conversation and collaboration and community here.
Absolutely, yeah, this is exactly what we hope for.
All right. And what advice do you have for students going into this election season?
I think just making sure that they are able to be communicative with their friends and also just hold space and have great time.
Absolutely, I agree with all of that. This has really gone the best that we can imagine, so we're really excited.
Thank you, girls. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Evan. With the polls closing just an hour ago, Abby Gravely has live reactions from people on social media. Abby, what's being posted right now?
Thanks, Abigail. Things have been pretty quiet since polls closed, with a lot of politicians and candidates just reminding people to go vote, and a lot of voters expressing their concern for the outcomes of this election as results roll in. We also are seeing a post from Josh Stein just a few minutes ago after his race was called, inviting audience members to join him live in Raleigh as he talks about the results of the election. We also have posts from Donald Trump reminding a Pennsylvania county that polling hours have been extended and encouraging individuals to go vote there. We're seeing reposts of encouragement for voters and expressing areas where time is still left, and more reminders that if you are in line before the polls close, you can stay in line, and that is particularly relevant to those areas that have not yet closed polls in the western sections of the country. Scrolling down more, we're seeing videos from candidates, as well as result videos from news and reposts from candidates such as Jill Stein, who reposted a clip from The Simpsons. That's all I have for you for now. Now back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Abby. When it comes to political activity on campus, one Elon Jr., Noelle Vaught, finds her peers a little less proactive. Our Fiona McAllister, who's been bringing you updates on the presidential race, did an exclusive interview with this student who's currently abroad, following up on her actions of using the First Amendment.
Vaught stood at the Speaker's Corner, a place for student activism right outside of the Mosley Center, holding an upside-down American flag written with the words, "There is no flag large enough to cover up the shame of killing innocent people."
Now, to recap from last year, I just have a couple questions written down. I remember first time I interviewed you, you were telling me that you thought students are politically sleepwalking. Do you still think that way?
I do still believe this generally. I mean, I will say that, I've looked at, some early voting numbers, and, younger people who tend to be students have voted more in, the early voting, stages than they have in the past, but it's still, a very, very small number. I feel like students here aren't politically active enough. I don't think that students here, partially due to it being such a small school, are brave enough, to express how they feel.
I remember what you did standing at the Speaker's Corner was a really huge thing that Elon has maybe never really seen before in the past years that you and I have been here. What prompted you to do that in the first place?
It was kind of a mixture of passion and spontaneity. It wasn't like, obviously, like I went through like the whole process of like getting the things that I needed to do it with, but it was in all actuality extremely spontaneous. Like I just decided to do it one day. There wasn't really any like planning put into it.
I would not say that I'm a very patriotic person. I feel like that's pretty obvious, you know? But like the one thing I do appreciate about this country is that we, at the very least, for now, have freedom of speech here.
I mean, one of my last questions is, would you have any suggestions for students or the university to become more politically active on campus?
I do really think that it's like important for general people to like be at least like aware of politics, because like even if like, I mean, I generally hold the position that like even if you don't care about politics, politics still cares about you, and that it does affect you even if you don't really take it into consideration.
And with the upcoming election, VOT says it's important to cast your ballot. Fiona McAllister, ENN Tonight.
More numbers are rolling in as ballots are being counted for local elections. Charlotte, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Abigail. Just in the governor race with Josh Stein and Mark Robinson has been called, with Josh Stein winning the race. He is at 51.51% and Mark Robinson is at 43.77% with the ENN projection. The race for North Carolina's Superintendent of Public Instruction is shaking up to be a key contest in the 2024 election, with the two candidates offering differing visions for the future of the state's public school system. Mo Green, a Democrat, has extensive experience in education and leadership. He served as state superintendent of Guilford County Schools, the third largest district in the state, where he oversaw a district with more than 70,000 students. Green also worked as a school board attorney and as the chief executive of a foundation that provides grants supporting public education. His platform focuses on improving public education by investing in resources for teachers, enhancing student support systems, and addressing the challenges facing North Carolina's rapidly growing and diverse school population. Green's experience leading a large school district gives him insight into the needs of students, parents, and educators across the state. On the other side, Michelle Morrow, a Republican, brings a more grassroots perspective to the race. Morrow has experienced homeschooling several of her own children and later became involved in teaching coalitions to assist other families in need of alternative education options. She is a strong advocate for school choice and parental involvement in education, believing that families should have greater control over how and where their children are educated. Morrow's platform also focuses on improving access to homeschooling resources and ensuring that public schools are held accountable for student outcomes. With 21.07% of precincts accounted for, Michelle Morrow is leading the race with 50.04%, and Mo Green trails at 47.96% of votes. In addition, for Commissioner of Labor, Republican Luke Farley is leading at 55.58% of votes, and Braxton Winston II trails at 44.42%. Next, for the Commissioner of Agriculture, Republican Steve Troxler and incumbent is leading with 55.10% of votes, and Democratic candidate Sarah Tabor is falling at 42.65% of the votes. That's all I have for you. Now back to you at the desk.
With the numbers coming in, the presidential map is looking a little more colorful. Now let's throw it over to Fiona McAllister for a final look into how this race is coming. Can you tell us what you're seeing so far, Fiona?
16 electoral votes in North Carolina. We're going to be focusing. I just got some numbers in, and right now the precincts have been about 25.28% counted, ballots 20.15%, with Harris in 44.43%, with Donald Trump in the lead with 54.34%. Now, to look at the map, we can take a look at North Carolina, see it's looking a little more red because of Donald Trump's 54% of ballots being counted. So in the swing states, they're still looking similar. Pennsylvania blue, Georgia in red compared to previous elections. But North Carolina, we're seeing just a little bit more red, and we're still counting those ballots. So across the board, we'll be seeing this all colorful in hopefully just a couple days. Now that's all I have for you. Thanks. Now back to you at the desk, Abigail.
Thanks, Fiona. Well, that's all we have for you tonight on ENN's Election Center. For races that have not been called yet and post-election coverage, keep up to date with our website, elonnewsnetwork.com. And be sure to follow us on social media at Elon News Network. Have a great night, Elon.